Alright, welcome back to my channel. My name is Fanuel. Today I'm going to show you very simple, light and inexpensive flooring system. First, we need to estimate the size of structural members. Actually, before the construction, I have carried out some structural analysis, but in this video, I'm not go through them all. In this video, I present only the procedure I followed and the final results I achieved. So, originally, the building was built by leaving some opening, as you see here, on the mezzanine floor level. Therefore, this lightweight flooring solution is provided to close this opening. Generally, the size of the opening is around 5000 millimeter by 2900 millimeter, or 5 meter by 2.9 meter, as you see in this picture. So, in order to reduce the amount of point load at the base plate, or at the bottom of the column, I provided total of 6 number of column and one directional load distribution mechanism were employed. So for that reason, I provided the primary beam along the longer direction only. So because it's not necessary to provide the primary beam on the left and right side of the floor, because for one directional load distribution mechanism, this beam is enough or satisfy the requirement. So on the other hand, the secondary beam must be welded perpendicular to the primary beam in order to achieve the one directional load distribution principle. So generally two type of steel profile were used for the construction of this floor. Actually, in addition to that, also plywood deck were used. The steel profile was employed for the production of main structural elements like column and beams, or the primary and secondary beam. On the other hand, these plywood were used for the construction of plywood deck structural element. The 80 by 80 by 2 millimeter square hollow section was used for the production of column, and the 60 by 40 by 2.5 millimeter rectangular hollow section were used for the production of the secondary and primary beam. In fact, this square hollow section is not sufficient to use as a column for this structure, because it's subject for some kind of priority called local buckling. Therefore, to overcome this issue, I strengthen it by filling the fresh concrete. So this picture shows that 80 by 80 by 2 millimeter square hollow section column structure number, and this is the base plate. So the inside of this steel profile is filled with fresh concrete. So it acts as some kind of composite structure. Generally, this structural member is, you can say, it's free from local buckling, since the hollowed part of the inside of the steel structure, the steel profile is filled with fresh concrete, so it's free from local buckling case. On the other hand, when you come to the primary beam, it was constructed in the form of a truss-like structure. So this structure consists of double 60 by 40 by 2 millimeter rectangular hollow section at the top and at the bottom, and a single 60 by 40 by 2.5 millimeter rectangular hollow section as vertical and diagonal members. So ultimately, the secondary beam was welded on the top chord. As I mentioned before, the secondary beam was welded perpendicular to the primary beam. So this picture shows the detailed arrangement of all components of floor excluding the plywood deck. This is a primary beam, as I said before, and this secondary beam, these are columns. All the 6 columns are arranged in its position. And this is a diaphragm. What's a diaphragm? It used to decrease the horizontal the vibration concerned with horizontal and support length of the secondary beam. So it helped to reduce the span of the secondary beam, and this helped to reduce the vibration, and it increases the stiffness in this direction. So this is the purpose of the diagram that I provide here. So if you want to draw, this is the secondary beam, rectangular hollow section with a span of 2.9 meters. So if we want to draw the free body diagram of the secondary beam, it looks like to simply supported beam, as we know that for simply supported beam the maximum bending moment is at the center, and the maximum shear force is at the supports. So during my analysis and design, I realized that 60 by 40 by 2.5 millimeter rectangular hollow section satisfied the requirement concerned with shear force, but it was not sufficient to withstand the applied maximum bending moment. So at the center of the section is subject for the maximum bending moment, and if we move to the left and to the right as of the maximum bending moment, fortunately the value decreases down. Even at the support, the section becomes subject for zero bending moment. So with this concept in mind, I decided to increase the capacity of the section by welding rebar at the top and the bottom of the flange. Actually, I hadn't bought the rebar for this purpose. Instead, I found it in the store. Simply, it was a wastage rebar during construction of the building. So this the diameter and length of this waste rebar was variable. Generally, I used diameter 12, diameter 14, and 16 rebar by cutting to an equal length of 2 meters. The length of this rebar is 2 meters, and the length of the rectangular hollow section is around 2.9 meters, as we have seen in the dimension of the opening. The dimension of the opening is 2.9 meters by 2.9 meters by 5 meters. So the length of secondary beam will also be 2.9 meters, and this value shows the spacing of the secondary beam. They are arranged with the spacing of 30 centimeters or 300 millimeters. So generally I strengthen it by providing rebar at the top and at the bottom. So therefore the 2 meter rebar welded directly on the top and bottom of the flange of the rectangular hollow section. So this two picture shows the section of the steel profile after welding of the rebar. So there are two possible arrangements of rebar is selected, but I prefer the first one in order to facilitate the assembly of the plywood deck. I prefer the first rebar arrangement. So if we place the rebar on the top of the flange, it's difficult to to assemble the plywood. So if we use this arrangement, generally the plywood they can directly be fixed by using a self-tapping screw on the top of the flange. Since I am using the waist rebar, or the length of the rebar is too short, I haven't provided this rebar throughout the length of the steel profile due to a lack of material. So actually, from the structural point of view, when we move toward the support from the center to the support, the value of bending moment is reduced by half and more. For instance, at this point, at the point where the rebar welding is not provided, the value of bending moment itself is very low. So it's not the capacity of the 60 by 40 by 2.5 millimeter rectangular hollow section by itself is satisfy the requirement. So only the most important, or the critical point is the center, and at some distance to the left and right of center. So is the main concept behind the. If you want to see this picture, for example, for this picture, you can zoom it. So there is a welding bar, as you see here, in the top and in the bottom. So this is a rebar. It may be diameter 12 or 40, or either of the three diameter. Diameter 12, 14, or 16. So after the assembly of all the main structural members, the plywood deck was directly screwed to the secondary beam, using self-tapping screws. Then all the joints was sealed by using special type of sealant like silicon and foam. There are a lot of joints between the wall and the plywood deck, and between each plywood deck. So I use the appropriate sealant for each type of joint. Then finally the plywood surface was covered with a plastic tile using the appropriate adhesive. Then generally the final result was very nice, and it almost looks like to a concrete slab. So this is the final result I achieved. So if you have such kind of case, I prefer you to use this floor system. So these have very low vibration, not expensive, and it is very easy to construct, and the time required for the construction is very also it's preferable to use this kind of flooring system for your work. So it's all about our today's video, and thank you for giving me your time, and don't forget to like and subscribe my channel. Next time I will back with special video in another topic. Have a good time, and thank you.